So yeah, we're gonna ask ourselves, what is the resistance causing? So then what's step 2?
The opposite muscle group is involved.
Perfect. So when we talk about involved, that just means like that is the muscle group that is doing the action. So we use this 2-step process anytime we're trying to figure out what muscles are actually moving or doing the movement. So let's do a couple examples. So if we have a guy, he's standing like this, and he's got this ankle weight, what is that resistance going to cause to happen at his hip? What movement is it going to cause?
If he's standing.
So he's up like here, it wants to do what?
What movement is it gonna happen at his hip?
Yeah, so he's gonna want to bring his leg back down.
Okay.
What would that be called?
Extension.
So right here, it's going to
So
cause
hip
hip
extension.
extension. So there's our step 1. So then what is our involved muscle group?
The quads.
The hip flexors.
The hip flexors.
Just opposite. So we know our hip flexors are the ones performing this action or movement. They're the ones contracting while we're up there, type thing. What's another good example? Okay. What about, so the picture shows a guy like picking up a box. So basically like
In
a
the
squat.
squat
Yeah,
position.
so he squatted down. I don't know how to draw that.
Do you want to look at it?
Yeah, whatever. Okay, so next. Perfect, okay. So what is resistance gonna cause? What does it make? It makes him want to come back down, right, with gravity?
Okay.
So then what would that movement be?
So is he going up or down?
He's coming up, but whether he's coming up or down, the resistance is still gonna cause the same thing.
Okay, so he's coming up from the squat, so it's concentric.
Uh-huh, perfect.
Okay.
Concentrically.
Because it's against gravity.
Yeah, awesome.
And then what else are you asking?
So what is the resistance gonna cause? What's our step 1? What would that movement be called if he came back down?
A squat.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
But at the hip, what would we call that?
Okay.
Yeah.
So he goes down. And you're saying opposite, so hip extensors,
Perfect, yeah. It's gonna cause hip flexion,
hip flexion.
so then our hip extensors are involved. Perfect.
I guess that's what confuses me the most, is the whole like opposite thing or.
Yeah. You just gotta make sure to like break it down into the 2 steps to keep it like kind of separated. So just always figure out first what the resistance is causing. So if it's gonna cause some type of movement at a joint. So it's gonna cause hip flexion if he comes down. So then his hip extensors, the opposite muscle group of our hip flexors, are involved. That's how it works. Let's do another example where we have multi-joint. So we have this guy. Let's see if I can even draw this. Okay. So upright row. You know. You know what that is. Okay. So we've got this guy doing the upright row.
Okay.
So if he's holding that, the resistance is just going to cause him to drop it, right?
Yes.
So now we have to name what all of that is, what's happening. So first, let's identify what joints are gonna be involved.
Well, because you're gonna have, I feel like you're gonna have shoulder,
Shoulder.
elbow,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if wrist is in there, but also your core, I don't know, your waist, but probably not.
That is actually, your abs are gonna contract. That's what we call stabilization, which is in this section and we haven't quite gotten to it yet. But, it's true, they are contracting, just in a different way, they're gonna stabilize. But if our shoulder is gonna be involved, then what else do we know is gonna?
The scalp. The
Scapula.
or the shoulder.
Scapula.
So shoulder girdle is the same as the shoulder, or
Is the same as the scapula.
scapula? Okay.
Mhm. So, yeah, when we talk about shoulder girdle movements, we're talking about scapular movements. Okay, so let's just look at the shoulder. From here to here, what is that causing at the shoulder?
Adduction.
Uh-huh. So then what's involved? So then it's causing shoulder adduction, so then what would are involved?
So our
So what's the opposite of adduction?
abduction. So shoulder abduction.
So our shoulder abductors as a muscle group.
Shoulder abduction. Well, and then I was like, well, we're learning about pectoralis major, so I was like, well, so is that.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah, we're just using like a general, the shoulder abductors, general term. Yep.
okay.
Okay, what about the elbow?
So elbow flexion, so it would be elbow extension,
Mhm, it's gonna cause extension. So then the involved,
would be elbow flexors.
elbow flexors, perfect. Okay. Let's do scapula. Actually, no, let's do wrist. That's a little less involved.
So
So if I'm holding the weight, in that picture, he's kinda got the weight like this.
and it's ulnar deviation.
Uh-huh. So then when he comes back to neutral, what movement happened to get him from ulnar to neutral? Do you see how, from there, down, back down, it would just be neutral? So he'd have to do a little bit of radial deviation, right?
Okay.
To get from out of ulnar back to neutral.
Okay.
So it's gonna cause radial deviation. So our ulnar deviators will be involved.
Ulnar deviators.
Okay, perfect. Now the scapula. So,
So you're retracting to go up.
it's actually not retraction.
Or
Just because we're just in this frontal plane, we're not causing, like if we were out here at all or back here, it would cause them to come back or forward.
okay.
But we're just in the frontal plane, so they're not gonna come forward or back, protraction, retraction. But what else would it cause? So, what would that be? What's that called? You're doing it right now.
I know. Well, yeah. Retraction, contraction. But I don't know what it is. Elevation?
Uh-huh, so you go from elevation back down to depression. So then your elevators would be involved, right? So you come up, it's gonna cause depression. Do you see that? As we're up, it's elevated, but when we drop it, they come down.
Depression.
So it causes depression. So our scapular elevators are involved. And there's one more movement that's gonna happen at the scapula. And if it's not protraction, retraction, and we already talked about elevation, what else is left?
Downward rotation.
So when we're up, they're out like that, they're rotated.
So they're upward
And when we come
rotation.
down, they downwardly rotate.
Rotate.
So our upward rotators are involved.
Perfect. So we find out what it's doing at first, that it's working in this.
So figure out, I think it's best to start off figuring out, first of all, which joints you're gonna be looking at. Usually like on a quiz he'll list that. But yeah, just know which joints you're looking at because that kind of narrows you in. And then from there, figure out what the resistance will cause at that joint. Then the opposite of that is gonna be your involved muscle group. Just for fun, in an upright row, what is the concentric phase and what is the eccentric phase?
Okay, so concentric is against gravity. So this is concentric, this is eccentric.
Upward, and then eccentric is down. What about a bench press? What's the concentric, eccentric with bench press?
This is concentric, this is eccentric.
Opposite. So against gravity as you're pushing up is concentric. Right, because concentric you're pushing, you're causing the movement. Against gravity
Is against, and then eccentric.
you're controlling it as it goes with gravity. So that would be your downward phase.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, does this two-step process make sense though?
I think so.
Okay.
Can I write it down now?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
And just remember to like use this all the time because this is something you'll have to use throughout the whole semester.
Are we talking about the movement as it goes down? I guess that's like,
Well, whether you come up or down, the resistance is still gonna cause the same thing.
it's still gonna cut, like that's what you're saying with this, is you're
Mhm.
still gonna be using those muscles.
Yeah. So whether you're in the concentric or eccentric phase, it's still these same muscles that are working in both parts. So when you come up, if you're up here, it's still gonna cause you to drop here. If you're right here, it's still gonna cause you to drop. Even if you're down here at the very end of it, the resistance is still gonna cause you to like stay down there. And so it's gonna cause all those same things, whether you're concentric or eccentric. So then our involved groups are still gonna be the same throughout the whole phase.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't just,
By finding out that your abductors are going to be helping you do your shoulder adductors, which are gonna help you do this movement.
it's your shoulder abductors are involved.
Okay.
Yeah. And whether you're lowering it or
Which
bringing
would
it
be
up.
extensors, your elbow flexors.
So your elbow flexors are doing elbow extension, but it's eccentric. It's an eccentric contraction. So they're doing the opposite of what they normally do, but it's because they're doing it eccentrically. That's kind of the difference, I guess, between those two.